Everyone takes out loans, both rich and poor. This is a financial product that is in demand by many. True, there are people who do not need a loan at all, regardless of their financial situation. These people know how to manage with their own funds, but they are a minority. But among those who borrow money at interest, there are different people, not so much in terms of their finances, but in terms of their thinking. After all, money taken on credit is purchased money, and the profitability or unprofitability of such a purchase depends on how a person uses it. So, we will talk about how a loan for the poor differs from a loan for wealthy people. Let's see who buys money, and for what purpose. If we do not take into account many individual cases, then we can say that basically people's thinking about a loan is divided into two types. The first type of thinking is the thinking of a conditionally poor person who needs money for consumption and entertainment. And the second type is a conditionally wealthy person who buys money in order to sell it even more profitably. That is, in one case the money is stupidly spent, and in the other it is wisely invested. Let's assume that a loan for the poor is not a very smart loan. But a loan for wealthy and even rich people is a useful and therefore smart loan. Why is that? Because the poor are given money on loan at interest for the most necessary things in life, which they could afford under normal living conditions, receiving a decent reward for their work. And rich and smart people borrow money in order to increase it. Particularly impudent representatives of the human race take it in order not to pay it back, but these are isolated cases. And so, the poor need money to live more or less normally, because he cannot earn enough for a normal life, and the rich need it to become even richer. Now let's think about what this means for you and me. This means that if you, living in need, borrow money to treat yourself, then you are worsening your financial situation and greatly reducing your chances of getting rich and getting ahead in life. Of course, you still have this opportunity if you study, make useful connections, do other necessary things that bring in good money, and bring people to power. But such a way of managing money, in which you are always getting into debt to solve some of your current problems, is a powerful brake on your success. And those who have power over you, who live at your expense, really like this way of thinking. As long as you remain a dumb consumer, you are not a competitor either in business or in politics. Moreover, you are fodder for business and for politicians who keep you on a short leash with the help of debts. You cannot gain strength while you are always in debt to someone. Let's say, to learn something a little and move from your current job to a more profitable job, both in terms of money and conditions, you need some time, at least for the same reading, not to mention taking courses, trainings, etc. But because you are forced to work to support your life and pay off your debts, you cannot afford education and therefore remain at the bottom of the social pyramid. Business is happy that you consume its goods and services on credit, and the authorities are happy that you are not so smart as to suddenly stop obeying them. Why do the poor get poorer and the rich get richer? Because they manage the money they have, including credit money, differently. The poor spend everything on entertainment and attempts to look rich, because they have a damaged psyche. Such people, even if they get rich by chance, for example, get into power, will remain with the mentality of the poor, ready to gorge themselves here and now, because they are afraid that tomorrow they will have nothing. And the rich strive to acquire assets. Sources of money. In some cases they spend their money on creating useful connections, on giving bribes, use money to come to power in order to further strengthen their position. In other words, in most cases, poor people spend their money and money they took on credit on entertainment, show-off and degradation activities, while rich people spend a lot of money to become stronger, and therefore richer. It is no secret that many people in our country are heavily in debt. And they have no idea how to live without loans. Which is not surprising, because no one taught them this. Just as they were not taught to manage money wisely, so as not to feel the need for it to such an extent that they would drown in debt later. But it is not only the financial illiteracy of the population, its lack of discipline and weakness, because of which it likes to party on the last, and then suck its paw. It is also the old model of governing this society, which is used by the authorities. This model implies that the stupider, poorer and extremely intimidated the society, the easier it is to govern. But easier does not mean more profitable. You will not get far in the modern world with poor, downtrodden fools. You will be a head or several heads below those who have a more well-fed, intelligent, self-confident people, and therefore enterprising, proactive, creative and rich. Having power over a stronger and smarter society means having much more power yourself. But for such power, the head on the shoulders must be appropriate, which not every ruler has. A person who is in debt, who does not increase his wealth with the help of borrowed money, but stupidly entertains himself or even just survives, does not represent a serious force. Another thing is a person who, regardless of his financial situation, strives to become stronger and take the highest possible position in society. Such a person will live on black bread alone, but will not put up with his situation, content with small joys that he is allowed to have only on credit. Because this is not life, when you are seen as a worm that can be crushed at any moment. But such strength of spirit, such a rebellious character, such love of freedom are possessed by few, for various reasons. But the main thing is that if a person is not deprived of absolutely everything, leaving him at least some joys, with the help of the same credit, then he will not take the path of struggle, he will not rebel, will not show interest in revolutionary and other activities that imply the destruction of the old order and the establishment of a new one. Therefore, a loan for poor people is a thrown bone, for the sake of which a humble dog is ready to drag out his miserable existence, without even trying to claim more. Give a poor person a loan so that he does not ask himself why the hell he lives like this, who is to blame for his life, not only himself, as the well-fed and satisfied mugs of his exploiters always tell him. But in society it is always like this, someone lives at the expense of someone else. You can talk as much as you like about how much the life of this or that person is deserved, who studied for what, how, and how he worked to earn his own. The essence of this does not change. Some people live at the expense of others. And the extent to which those at whose expense they live are satisfied with their situation depends on the stability of society. When everyone is well-fed and satisfied, then people are tolerant of inequality. Well, yes, the rich man deserved his wealth, he studied, worked, stole, robbed, bribed, and could do many other things, both useful and harmful to society, thanks to which he came to his wealth. Everything can be accepted as long as your life is more or less normal, as long as you can afford some joys. But when you are deprived of everything, that's when you begin to look for justice in this world and ask yourself what you need to do not only to survive, but also to somehow come to a more worthy life. Simply put, people need a good incentive to want to become stronger and, thanks to this desire, to begin to develop themselves in the appropriate direction. Nobody needs a poor man to make him richer. Only he can take care of himself. And then money should be spent on becoming stronger, and not on dulling entertainment and lulling little joys. Those who exploit society know this very well, and that is why they support such an economic model in which the poor must be given something, but in such a way that they remain dependent on this source of their benefits, so that they do not do well for themselves, but with someone's help. In this case, with the help of a loan. Let them indulge, as long as they remain weak and poor. And until the poor have some powerful incentive to fight for their interests, they will continue to drown in loans. It is like with an empty and a full stomach. You have probably noticed that on an empty stomach you think well and have more determination. Whereas if a person overeats, he does not want to do anything, he is sleepy, He can fall on the couch and start flicking channels on the TV while farting until he falls asleep. What the hell is politics, what business, what training in something? He is not interested in all this. As long as the monkey is well fed and warm, it will remain a monkey. Therefore, people need to be given money for this minimum, and preferably in the form of a loan, so that they are in debt, and because of this debt they work and do not interfere in anything, neither in politics, nor in business, nor in books where you can find such knowledge that will make a man out of a monkey. A loan for the poor is a trap for the poor. People usually do not manage such money wisely. They do not invest it in education, in the purchase of assets, in the creation of their own business, they simply eat it up. Someone does this out of necessity, because otherwise he does not know how to survive, and someone for pleasure. And while such money allows poor people to have what they cannot buy with their modest incomes, it deprives them of much more motivation. Lacking motivation to become stronger, the poor are deprived of the opportunity to change anything in their lives. They will continue to be content with small joys, buying them on credit and resigning themselves to their fate.